Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's rancid relationship with David and Victoria Beckham has turned into a furious feud. The seething Sussexes were stunned to see Posh and Becks among the guests of honour at King Charles's Buckingham Palace state banquet to celebrate the Emir of Qatar's official visit to London. The glamorous occasion, attended by the Queen, the Prince and Princess of Wales, Anne, Edward, Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and a glittering galaxy of elites, marked the high point of the Beckhams' social mountaineering ambitions as they reached the peak and mingled with the cream of British society. Meanwhile, reduced to forgotten outriders lost in America, a certain couple was said to be green with envy. Their Montecito Majesties were once good friends with David and Victoria. But former footballer Becks was outraged when he learned that Meghan had urged Harry to keep him at arm's length because she believed Posh was leaking stories about her to the press. Since then, the warmth between them has dwindled into a frozen wasteland. But, much to Harry's annoyance, David has gone on to become bosom buddies with his dad, the King. Both are keen beekeepers and regularly swap jars of their homemade honey. And when he was pictured with Charles at the Sovereign's Highgrove home, it emerged that the ex-soccer star had been appointed a King's ambassador. Meanwhile, Harry remains an effective exile in the United States, a country that this week he insisted he has no intention of leaving. On his latest solo trip to New York, the prattling prince told a book conference, "I very much enjoy living here and bringing up my kids here." When he becomes president on January the 20th and reviews drug taker Harry's dubious visa details, Donald Trump may have something to say about that. In the same excruciating on-stage interview, the Dim Duke also addressed fevered speculation that because they haven't been seen in public with each other for 3 long months, the Sussexes' marriage is on the rocks. "Apparently we've bought or moved houses 10, 12 times, he said. "We've apparently divorced maybe 10, 12 times as well. So it's just like, what?" So articulate. Now the ginger whinger and his weird wife have gone into publicity blitz overdrive amid growing fears that it's all going wrong in their privileged lives. Sadly, though, the former golden couple's hastily released glitzy video projecting a schmaltzy image of beaming joy in Montecito comes across like a desperate bid to paper over the cracks, a frantic reaction against the tidal wave of negative stories currently engulfing them. As Harry droned on in Manhattan, Meghan was preening herself at some dreary awards ceremony in Hollywood. Instead of a contrived show of togetherness in an unconvincing video, why don't they put on an actual show of togetherness by being seen together in public? Answers on a postcard, please. In other bad news, Meg's money-making plans are going nowhere fast. The Duchess's lifestyle site, American Riviera Orchard, is in deeper trouble than ever after her search for a chief executive proved so unsuccessful she ended up appointing her favourite person, herself. Launched in March but still not open for business, this disastrous venture simply ain't happening. Elsewhere in their sea of nothingness, the less-than dynamic duo's grand mission to make a global impact with their heavily hyped Archwell Charity Foundation has dissolved into little more than paltry tokenism. The world-changing outfit's latest annual tax returns reveal that last year it received donations of $5,700,000. 5 million of which came from a mystery single benefactor. Of this relatively meagre sum, just $1.3 million was handed to worthy causes. Nearly $700,000 went in 3 salaries to 3 executives, which just doesn't seem right. Is this your idea of a decent charity? Answers on a postcard, please. Well, it's not my idea, Samara.
Don't believe a word that comes out of liar Harry and Macbeth, Meghan Markle's mouth, because they haven't been seen together in 85 days. Those are the facts, okay? It's 225 days since I signed up to Meghan Markle's weird Montecito Mansion blog website. We've got nothing from that. So, yeah, the facts don't lie.
So you're the person who signed up to it. I wondered who it was.
For research purposes, for business purposes, I did actually sign up to it.
Meghan fan.
Yeah, sorry, guys, you caught me. But, yeah, it's ridiculous. And they've come out last night. They've said all this fluff that their PR agents have shoved into their mouth to say to the people. It's not true. Don't believe it. 85 days, that's a statistic. That's not something that you can faff around with.
Do we need to see them together? Is that really important for us to see them together?
I need to. I need to see them.
We've not been seen for 85 days. That's kind of slightly creepy that you were keeping account of that. But do they need to be seen together? Do we? Is it enough that they speak in the evenings or they're together behind closed doors? Why is it important that we see them together?
I'll tell you why. Because it's now been 3 months since they've been seen together. Here's Meghan on her own at the Tyler Perry Awards ceremony. Looking weird, looking very alone, actually. So everybody's saying, why are you never seen together? So why don't they just, as I said in my monologue, why don't they just step out in public and quell all the rumours?
Because this is a couple famous...
I say it's because they can't stand the sight of each other.
This is a couple famous for not doing what everybody wants them to do.
Not doing anything.
Sometimes to their benefit.
She looks lonely.
And sometimes to their deficit.
Don't you think she looks lonely?
You know what?
She looks lonely.
You know what makes me really sad?
I'm actually feeling sorry for poor Meghan.
What makes me really sad about that video
Pass me the world's smallest violin.
Well, it pales in comparison to the Qatari state dinner that was just had. It's her on this lonely sort of backwater red carpet, sort of wanting the spotlight. Please give me a photo. I want to be on Getty Images. It's like, come on, this is the life that they traded.
Yeah.
They actually could have been
very good point.
they could have been in the layers of luxury with the world leaders talking about actual things, inciting actual change. But no, she's on some
What was that state dinner? Who was the state banquet for?
Well, the Emir of Qatar.
Yeah.
The Emir of Qatar. But if they'd have gone, I just remember you two talking about their trip to Nigeria and the female mutilation, genital mutilation, and Qatar has a terrible record about human rights. You two would have been all over them about the human rights abuses in Qatar.
Qatar is also...
Well, I think you know, that I agree with you. Qatar's a dodgy place, but it had the World Cup. But that's one of the reasons that...
But they can't win. That's the point I'm making. If they'd have gone to a meal with the Emir of Qatar...
Yeah, well, I don't think it's about that.
You would have yelled about that.
I don't think it's about that. I think that's just...
Good, because it doesn't fit the narrative
Well,
this week.
no, but they never would have been there because they're not frontline royals. But trust me, old Dave Beckham, he's a very skillful social mountaineer, social climber, and he has become best mates with the king. He'll be knighted soon, and their presence, their very visual presence at this event at Buckingham Palace this week will have cut Harry and Meghan straight through the heart, like a dagger through the heart.
Yeah.
They'd have hated it.
It's a fall from grace.
And also, I know that Beckham has been raging ever since. Meghan said, this was a few years back, Meghan told Harry was getting to be very matey with David Beckham. Meghan said, no, keep him at arm's length because Victoria's leaking stories about me to the press. Now, I've worked around Victoria Beckham for a long time. And, you know, she may be many things, but she does not leak stories to the press. I know that. So that was a very unfair allegation. And that is why Beckham is so furious. And Beckham was preening himself at that do because he knew that Harry would have hated every moment of it.
Listen, we can dissect the story of two people who wouldn't have been invited to something that they wouldn't have gone to, just like Christmas, to have dinner with somebody who leads a nation that does human rights abuses. And let's get on to the Beckham and Posh thing. We're talking about a couple, especially Prince Harry, who is paranoid about leaking, about being bugged, about being hacked, and all the rest of it. So he has made a mistake.
Blaming people that didn't do it.
That's what happens when people are always telling stories behind your back. That's what happens. That's what you create.
Yeah, but
you create somebody with mass paranoia.
You know, that's what I've heard. You know, that Beckham was boiling with rage about this because actually, I know that Posh and Becks are obviously sort of voracious publicity seekers, but they don't leak private details to the press about their friends. They never have. So it's a very unfair accusation, typical of Meghan, just blaming anyone. Anyway, you've got some questions from the audience.
Also, let's not forget how obviously David queued in the line to see the Queen when she died for 9 hours, whereas they made the Queen's last year's hell. So, a bit of a difference there between them.
You liked that one, didn't you?
No, it's just I really I respect him
Very
for
good
that.
point, Samara. Let's not forget
So,
how David
Shut up,
did that.
Simon.
How could we forget?
Shut up!
Melissa has said, I feel so bad for Thomas Markle. No parent who puts that much effort into raising a child should receive the level of neglect that he has. It is so cruel. She's a real narcissist.
Yeah, very good point, but you won't agree with that because you hate Thomas Markle. Poor old boy who's 80 years old, can't get to see his grandchildren.
I just find that...
And you're very cruel
I just find
it.
I just find the dysfunctional Markles, and I include Meghan in that. I just find it such a tragic story that they just
She's the
can't...
one who's making them
just because they can't kind of sit down and work it out, get behind closed doors and work it out. They're just doing it...
Well, that's down to her, isn't it?
They're doing it all...
That is down to her.
It's down to him as well.
She is a troublemaker.
It's down to him as
and
well.
She's a self-obsessed...
Anybody who has a relative that you've fallen out with, who you're estranged with, would tell you just how awful and horrible it is.
Well, why doesn't she do something about it? She is like a stick of dynamite in that family. She's destroyed that family.
They will tell you. They will tell you how horrible it is and how horrible it is.
Which is why she should mend the bridges.
If people keep on telling you how you should have a reunion, it's not up to other people.
She's full of crap.
It is not up to other people.
What else have you got, Samara?
Master of Scrutiny has said, California recognises grandparents' rights. If Thomas Markle wants to meet his grandchildren, take it to court. They will not be able to stop visitation, but that won't happen because there are no grandchildren.
Also,
that was almost,
So I guess there's a sort of slight problem that Thomas Markle doesn't live in California, he lives in Mexico. But that would be an interesting court case.
I love some of the people who sort of send that stuff. It's like Schrodinger's grandchildren. Thomas Markle should take them to court to see the grandchildren, but the grandchildren don't exist, so it would be a waste of time for everybody.
Well, so you're having a go at our audience, are you?
I'm having a go.
These are good points.
I'm having a go at people who write ridiculous things.
Well, that's what's ridiculous about that. It's actually a really interesting point.
There are no grandchildren.
In California, grandparents take their children to court so they can see their grandchildren.
But there are no grandchildren, the person says.
Sonia Bateman has said, Thomas knows there are no children. He was the one who told the world about her hysterectomy at age 28. Interesting.
Wow. God, if my dad told the world about my hysterectomy, I might not want to see him anymore. That's just me,
I'm not entirely sure that Thomas Markle did tell the world about her alleged hysterectomy at the age of 28. But interesting point, Sonia. Thank you. Keep these talking points coming in.
Talking points.
What have you got?
Well, also what the audience is probably discussing is the theory that it could have been through a surrogate that the children had. I wonder if them having no children is the real reason why they turned down Charles Spencer's invite to spend Christmas at his estate. Because how could oh my God, this is a lot. How would Harry and Meghan explain why they would show up to spend Christmas with his uncle but have no children with them?
Very good question.
It's a very good question, isn't it? Let's read more questions from people speculating about children that they don't have.
Well, that's what we do on this show. We respect our audience. They're making interesting points.
They're making points
keep
about...
the messages coming.
Don't
worry about this.
Do you think they have children?
Pompous, superior.
Do you think they have children? Do you think the children exist? Yes or no?
The thing
Simple.
is that they try to be relatable.
Yeah,
do you think the children exist? Yes or no?
The lack of information is not fair.
I personally do think they exist, but I respect people who have their doubts. There's certainly reason to speculate because we never ever see them except for the back of their head.
We have seen them though.
Anyway, I gather we have a video to play now, and I believe that you made it for me, Simon.
I did indeed. I want you all to have a look at this and take a good look at yourselves because you are these people. Play the video.
No.
Hello, I'm a middle-aged man with an embarrassing problem. I've formed a strong negative opinion about a woman whose life doesn't even affect me. And I like to express that rage in the public domain. Luckily, there's now a number I can call.
Hello, you've called the Meghan Markle helpline.
Who did this woman think she is that she can come along and damage the reputation of the royal family? I mean, that's Prince Andrew's job.
New Zealand.
But why did he marry a commoner? It's against tradition. He should have married one of his own family.
I mean, she's so fake. Why can't she just be down to earth like his family that lives in the giant castle and dresses every day like they're in some sort of Jane Austen Comic-Con?
The trouble with that, you know, that's a New Zealand video, and you know what New Zealanders are like. They're all woke.
Yeah, they are.
So they would want to defend woke Meghan, wouldn't they?
They're making an interesting...
They're a nation of Jacinda Ardern's, the worst woman who ever lived.
They're making an interesting point, and that point is that making up things to be angry about a woman who doesn't affect your lives at all is a very, very weird hobby.
No.
It's not a hobby. We're journalists. We're covering a story. And she does bloody annoy me as well.
The story
Time
is...
for a bad ad.
I always played the lottery, but I never won. Then the psychic numerologist gave me my lucky numbers, and I won 3 times in 1 week. It was fantastic. I hit the 3-digit number 2 days in a row. Then I hit the 4-digit number that weekend. 3 winners in a week.
Call 1-800-532-0006 for information on how to speak with authentic psychic numerologists.
Do you know what your lucky numbers are? I do, and now I'm playing to win.
This call is free, adults only.
Well, how would that work?
You call, and somebody in the
It
end...
gives you some numbers.
tells you... well, numerology, I think they sort of ask you when you were born and things like that, how many letters in your name, and then they kind of use all the numbers.
That's no relationship with the lottery-winning numbers, would it?
Hey, listen.
It's great.
Listen,
It worked for her.
I'm just angry that Meghan's kids weren't in it. I didn't see her kids in it.
It worked for her, though. She won 3 times in a week.
There you go.
So
maybe you should give it a go.
Can we play that again so I can write the number down? We'll do that during these messages. What just happened? Are you serious? I mean, look at me. I don't want to do this. Why have I got to do this?
Oh, Kev, look, we've got to promote the new What Just Happened merch. Look at that.
What is that?
This is a perfect Christmas gift, everyone. Have you ever seen anything as good as this?
It's a mug. Big deal.
It's got your face on it, though.
I hate Christmas.
Oh, it's great, and you can get the jumpers.
I suppose you're going to
amazing.
say that these are Christmas presents.
This amazing stuff you can get at whatjusthappened.shop. It's perfect for the Grinch in your life.
I'm out of here.
He's mad as hell. It's Kevin O'Sullivan.
Welcome back to What Just Happened. This is the big moment, the moment in the show where we look back on what we decide was one of the key, or probably the key news events of the week. This was the moment when Joe Biden confirmed that he was never fit to be president of that great country, the United States of America. This is the president who has spent the last year or so saying he would never pardon his ludicrous son, Hunter, a sort of crack addict, gun addict, prostitute-loving moron who was in a world of trouble for tax evasion in California. He's already been done in Delaware for falsely filling in a form to get a gun. He was a sort of one-man crime wave. Joe Biden said, I will never, American justice must come to the fore, and I would never... Guess what he did this week? He forgave him and he pardoned him. He gave a presidential pardon, not just for those 2 crimes, but for anything he's done since 2014. Take a look.
Would the president pardon or commute his son if he's convicted?
So I've answered this question before. It was asked of me not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and I was very clear and I said no.
Is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no, and I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No.
Well, he did pardon his son. That's a disgrace, and Americans are absolutely appalled by it. Biden doesn't care anymore. But of course, he's not only pardoning his son, he's pardoning himself as well. As Donald Trump framed he calls them the Biden crime family.
Well, yeah.
They've had their snouts in the trough for a long, long time. At one point, Hunter Biden was earning, I think it was like $50,000 every month from Ukraine oil companies. He knows nothing about oil. And there are various emails and memos that suggest that of that money, there was a kickback going to, as Hunter put it, the big guy, which most people think is Joe. Joe Biden is a corrupt president. His family is a crime family. He wasn't just forgiving his son. He wasn't just pardoning his son. He was pardoning himself. Right, Simon?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's the optics on it are terrible. I mean, it's really bad coming out and saying you're not going to do that and doing it. I am trying very hard to not go into what you would call TDS and contextualize contextualize it against something.
Yeah, let's just talk about Joe,
against something else. So I'm just talking about Joe. I mean, I can sympathise with Joe Biden about why he's done it. You know, here's a man who's lost a son already. Here's a man who's also, his son did manage to turn his life round and was in a very, very low, bad place. And it's not really so much a danger to the community or recidivist. I mean, what he did with that gun was careless and stupid. But you're not talking about somebody who goes out and commits crime over and over again.
And he wouldn't have got a jail term for that,
however,
to be fair.
Yeah, however, what I do think is when you frame it in the sense that I'm going to let justice run its course, I'm going to let the DOJ do their thing, and I'm not going to interfere, and then you go back on your word like that, it's sad, you know, because Joe, in a way, had a legacy of standing to one side, possibly wrongly, to let Kamala do her...
He was kicked to one side.
To let her do her thing, but that could have been framed as doing something for the greater good.
To let her do her terrible campaign.
I think, unfortunately, and he did a lot of good things during his presidency. I think, unfortunately, that this will... I will name. I think, unfortunately, this will be a defining moment of his presidency, and I'm very sad that it happened.
He was a dreadful, dreadful president.
Disagree, but I'm just talking about this.
Well, if he was such a good president, how come the Democrats were so roundly trounced by Donald Trump?
Yeah.
They were roundly trounced because Americans looked at what a mess he'd made of the past 4 years, old Sleepy Joe, and said, we need a change. Loads of people who, some of them suffered from the same thing as you, Trump derangement syndrome, voted for Trump because it was anything but Biden. And let me tell you about Joe Biden and his finances, Samara. When Obama made him vice president all those years ago, he stood on a ticket, Joe Biden, vice presidential ticket of, I'm an ordinary Joe. I mean, literally an ordinary Joe, ordinary guy. And he let it be known, probably true at the time, that in his bank account was $30,000. That's all he had in the world. He had a mortgage and $30,000. Guess what he's worth now? $40 million. Wonder how he accrued all of that.
Yeah.
Anything to do with kickbacks, do you think, Samara?
I mean, this is the final nail in the coffin for the Democratic Party. He has done everything in his power to trounce it and ruin it, and he has finally achieved that. So well done, Joe. I mean, when you think about, you go back to 2019 when he decided to run for president, it was actually when Hunter was in the throes of addiction. He had become, to date, his dead brother's wife. He had made her into a crack addict. We're not talking about a bit of grass here. We're not talking about crack addiction. He'd made her a crack addict. He then made her daughter a crack addict. Hunter was a bad man who destroyed the family.
Still is.
And at this time, this was literally along the time, this is when Joe decided, no, I think I'll run for president. Thank you.
Yeah.
And in terms of the tax evasion, he had millions and millions of dollars. The issue was that he spent it all on prostitutes
and crack.
Yeah. So it wasn't like, you know, he was a poor guy trying to scrounge around, I won't be able to pay my taxes this year. No, he had the money. He chose not to pay his taxes.
That was the California's case against Hunter Biden. And he pleaded guilty to it in order to spare his father the embarrassment of a case, of a big public court case. But their case against him was this. You know, you evaded tax. You did not pay this tax. And don't turn around to us and say you couldn't afford it, because we have evidence that you spent $1.4 million on prostitutes and crack.
And there's horrific videos of it, by the way.
I don't like Joe Biden. I think he's a nasty piece of work. But I feel sorry for him having to put up with this piece of crap.
Yeah, but listen,
I don't, because he aided his addiction. He gave him a job that paid him $50,000 a month while he was.
So therefore, what you've just said, though, Samara. Then
no,
he got him a job in Ukraine.
Samara, you just said
he got him the job. He aided the addiction.
You
Joe
just
Biden
you
is
said
a
it
terrible
again.
father.
You said it again. You've aided his addiction. If somebody's an addict, they behave in ways that are terrible and they do terrible things. That's the nature of the illness that they have. I'm really, really keeping a lid on your new president-elect with his 34...
Is addiction an illness?
With his 34...
No.
With his 34 felon counts and everything else. The American politics is not in a great way. And also, American nepotism in politics. We look at Jared Kushner with his $2 billion. We look at how many patents Ivanka got when she was there. Look, nobody over there at the moment in politics looks spotless or looks clean. Okay?
Yeah, I agree with that. And by the way, for next week's show, let us know what you think. Don't say this in any pejorative way. Love America and all that, but I do think that the United States must think very seriously about this presidential pardon business. Clinton pardoned his brother-in-law, who was a cocaine trafficker.
That's correct.
Obama, they issued the pardons at the end of their presidency. Obama pardoned 2,000 people.
Yeah,
it's a ridiculous concept that, at the end of a presidency, this guy, or maybe one day a woman, the president, can just override the law of the United States of America and just forgive all these people. Particularly, I'm not saying that Obama necessarily abused it. Clinton did.
Nixon pardoned his brother
Trump did. Just say it. I can't sit here without you.
I think Trump did
so badly.
I agree with you.
And also, we have prime ministers.
They all do.
We have prime
agree with
ministers
you.
who hand out knighthoods.
I agree with
and
you.
hand out.
Well, let's not worry about that.
Lords.
Let's not worry about that.
It's all corrupt.
No. But let's not worry about knighthoods here. That's a corrupt system as well. But the ability to sort of just get people off serious crimes just because you're president strikes me as sort of medieval.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And they do a turkey at Thanksgiving.
Well, they save turkeys at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they give a pardon.
But the very important thing about what Joe Biden did, it wasn't just pardoning his son for these two crimes. It was everything he's done since 2014. In other words, encompassing a whole galaxy of other crimes that Joe Biden was involved in. So Joe Biden was pardoning himself as well as his son.
Look,
we're going to move on now, though. We're going to move on to the other big event of the week. It was, of course, over here in Britain, our alleged Prime Minister, our pathetic Prime Minister, the worst human being. No, that's not fair. He's not a human being. He's a robot. Keir Starmer, he lit up the Christmas tree lights in Downing Street where he lives. Take a look at this.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yay! It worked.
So 5. No, how did he go? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The nation's freezing to death because of all your cuts. People are poor.
Yeah,
give it some chutzpah.
This idiot, he just doesn't do human. And do you know what? I keep saying this, but it's true. This was a window into the kind of negative sort of little technocrat that he is. The only thing he's thinking then, as we approach this joyous moment when they light the Christmas tree lights, was, hope it doesn't go wrong. Because so he goes, 5, 4, Yay! And then he went, oh, that's a relief. I thought it might go wrong. I mean, for God's sake. I mean, he doesn't do human, does he?
You know something? After all the characters we've had in this country in the office of Prime Minister, give me boring, robotic, just get the job done. And
yeah, but he's not getting the job done. He's boring, he's robotic, and he's astronomically useless.
Look how angry you are about the...
I am angry about him. Aren't you angry about him?
Yeah. I mean,
why don't you come back to Australia? You don't have to live here. We do.
We actually have him 2.0. It's quite ridiculous. He's basically.
And you've
the
got
same.
worse than that one. No wonder you're here then.
He's from the Labour government, and he's he's got the personality of a brick wall.
You lefties, you've got to admit he's letting you down.
Well, you know something, he's just getting on with the job. And
yeah, but he's making a hash of it. He's ruining this country.
Just let me finish.
No blur.
He's had to come in after 14 years.
Time for a bad ad.
Every time I talk to one of Kenny's psychics, I feel so great. I mean, they're always there when I need them.
When I called one of the psychics on Kenny Kingston's hotline, I was totally blown away with how accurate they were.
Every time I call Kenny's psychic hotline, it's like I find out something new about myself.
Work with your psychic. They're here to aid you, comfort you, to guide you. Please make that call now.
I've got a prediction. I don't think Kenny's going to hang on to that wig for much longer. It's going to fall off soon. It's like already,
Every time I call Kenny Kingston's psychic hotline, I find I have less money in my bank account.
You didn't see that coming. It's time now for a real break. What just happened? Are you serious? I mean, look at me. I don't want to do this. Why have I got to do this?
Oh, Kev, look, we've got to promote the new What Just Happened merch. Look at that.
What is that?
This is a perfect Christmas gift, everyone. Have you ever seen anything as good as this?
It's a mug, big deal.
It's got your face on it, though.
I hate Christmas.
Oh, it's great, and you can get the jumpers.
I suppose you're going to say that these are Christmas presents.
This amazing stuff you can get at whatjusthappened.shop. It's perfect for the Grinch in your life.
I'm out of here.
He's mad as hell. It's Kevin O'Sullivan.
Welcome back to What Just Happened. See, we've got the hats and everything. Make America Great Again. And now, what just happened? Time now for a few questions from our magnificent audience.
Come on, you pair of grifters. Look at you. Are these for sale, by the way?
They are.
Well, they may well be soon, yes.
Just happened.
Funny you should ask that, Simon.
Indeed.
Mohammed has become the most popular baby name in Britain, while Kevin has dropped out of the top 100. Are you sad? I think that goes to Kevin.
Sad? I'm devastated. It's interesting, though, isn't it? Mohammed was the second most popular name in Britain last year. I mean, we're talking about babies when they're born, baby boys, of course. And a lot of people on the right side of the fence here in Britain have got very uppity about it. Go, oh, this is terrible, there goes our culture. I mean, I think it's a sort of sign of the times, but here's the thing about the name Mohammed. It is the most common popular name in the entire world. Mm-hmm. So, our Muslim friends have got it all down pat. This is a big name. So I'm not entirely surprised about it. What do you think, Simon?
Well, I think nobody has been named Gary now for the last 2 years. Nobody is called Gary anymore, and I think that Mr. Glitter was responsible for that. It's interesting that Kevin has dropped out of the 100.
I think I'm responsible for that.
What I think is sort of strange, I've always felt this is strange as a kid when people in Spanish countries, Latin American countries were called Jesus, named after Jesus. I think what's strange, and no offence to our Muslim friends, please, but that you're not allowed to depict the Prophet Muhammad in any drawing or anything else, but it's fine to name kids after him, and it just, to me, shows the sort of weird complex about
dichotomy
religion.
within.
Yeah, the weird thing about religion.
That fine religion.
But I don't have any strong feelings about it being the most popular name.
Yeah, I mean, people are saying it's a kind of cultural milestone in this country and indicative of the increasing Islamification of Great Britain.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think, I respect people who have concerns for Islamification in this country, because I don't think you really have it too badly in the States or Australia, but we have entire towns, particularly in the north, where, it's like walking into Islamabad or somewhere like that. These are Muslim communities exclusively, and you know, Samara, we have there are more than 1 million people, full-time residents of this country, who don't speak English. So Islamification is a genuine concern, but I'm not that concerned about the fact that the name Muhammad has gone to the top of the baby chart.
Let's not dance around the topic. All I'm going to say on it is it's not India from Islington that's naming her baby Muhammad, okay?
Yeah.
So that's all I'm going to say.
What I think is quite interesting as well is that there are certain neighbourhoods, and we have them in London, where you can go along a parade of shops, and some of the shop signs are in a different language, and I mean, some of them are Eastern European, but many of them kind of Middle Eastern or in Arabic. And I sort of do think that there is a case to be said that if you want people to integrate, and if you want
I think first thing we need to do with immigrants who come here and live here, they need to be forced to go to English lessons.
They should be invited to go to English lessons.
No,
it's not
forced,
even about that.
Forced,
the immigrants
forced.
that used
and
to
what about that? Let's talk about the big story. Why has Kevin fallen out of the top 100?
I don't know.
The immigrants that used to come to Britain used to want to assimilate and be part of this country. They loved Britain.
See, Kevins are very willing to integrate, you know. So why?
The Veterans Minister says that the British Army would be wiped out within 6 months if there was a major war. Do you agree?
Well, yeah, because there's not that many left. I think we've only got about 70,000 troops left in this country, and we only barely conform to NATO requirements. I think we spend something like 2% of our gross national product on defence, and that's the minimum requirement of NATO. Many European countries pay less, much to the fury of Donald Trump, of your friend Donald Trump. He says we should pay our way, but we need to spend a lot more on defence. Otherwise, our army's shrinking like crazy.
But that needs to be.
And in these difficult times, in these very worrying times, we need a strong army.
But that needs to be contextualised, doesn't it? I mean, if we went to war against, I don't know, Andorra or Vatican City,
yeah, beat them.
Yeah, I kind of fancy our chances.
Although the Pope's pretty powerful, so we might not do that well.
It really depends on what sort of war you're fighting. I mean, it's been fascinating looking at how the Russian-Ukraine war has been absolutely dominated by drones that sort of commercial drones.
Yeah, but we just got rid of it. We just got rid of thousands of drones. No, we're cutting our defence spending, and we've got a socialist government who won't increase it. So
okay.
Let's get a quick one more question in there.
Sainsbury's has been criticised for rebranding gingerbread men gingerbread-shaped people. Have they gone too far?
Of course they've gone too far. It's ridiculous. They've got these festive hats. So they're supposed to be Father Christmas, but they're in rainbow colours. So they're sort of LGBTQ festive hats. It's like, just give us Christmas hats, gingerbread men. It's okay. Let's go to a bad ad.
Emma. Huh? Emma. Not anymore. Emma. Every day it's getting on. Emma. Emma.
He's punching, isn't he? He really is. Yeah. She's beautiful. I would have left ages ago. That nagging git.
I agree. That casting was all wrong.
Why have you taken your hat off? You look like a senile old man on the golf course. Put it back on. I'm enjoying it.
Wow, okay. The insults are just free-flowing today, Simon. Good Lord.
Why didn't you put one on?
Yeah.
You know something? I've worn my red hat.
You've worn your mega hat.
I've worn my red hat for the year.
Yeah.
I'm not doing another one. Yeah. Going back to that gingerbread.
That was maybe my favourite ever moment on what just happened was you having to wear the MAGA hat. And in terms of the point you were going to make about gingerbread men, don't. We're going to a real break. What just happened? Are you serious? I mean, look at me. What? I don't want to do this. Why have I got to do this?
Oh, Kev, look, we've got to promote the new What Just Happened merch. Look at that.
What is that?
This is a perfect Christmas gift, everyone. Have you ever seen anything as good as this?
It's a mug, big deal.
It's got your face on it, though.
I hate Christmas.
Oh, it's great, and you can get the jumpers.
I suppose you're going to say that these are Christmas presents.
This amazing stuff you can get at whatjusthappened.shop. It's perfect for the Grinch in your life.
I'm out of here.
He's mad as hell. It's Kevin O'Sullivan.
Welcome back to the final section of this week's exceptional edition of What Just Happened. It is, of course, now the complaints department where we read out your messages, your critiques. Simon caught a lot of flack this week. He was almost trending on social media at one point because if you remember last week, absurdly, he maintained that the new president of the United States, a guy called Donald Trump, should not have a state visit to Britain, which is ridiculous, of course. A lot of people very angry about that, a lot of people posting on Twitter. So we're not only going to read your kind messages, we're also going to read a few social media posts. So first of all, the man in the frame, Simon.
There's so many here. Sazzle says, Simon London is speaking out of his rather large arse. Shall I do... I'm going to do two or three, because Fozzie says, and since when has Simon London been a spokesman for this country? DJ Rodney says, who is Simon London? Never even heard of him before. Who the hell does he think he is? He literally speaks for the disgruntled minority, that's for sure. Why even give a pleb like London a platform to spout off his lefty negativity and hate? He's irrelevant and irritating.
I wish your family would stop sending us these messages. What have you got, Samara?
Kathleen has said, maybe Simon would like to become a spokesperson. And Elizabeth says, Simon, give it up. They are two despicable non-royals. We are all fed up with the narcissist duo. True.
Absolutely. Next up, Simon.
I'm going to do three more again. Richard says it's probably a good idea that the government doesn't listen to Simon London. Time to leave the puerile student politics where it belongs. Steve Maudsley says Simon London is what is wrong with our great country. Brain-dead moron. Scomo Skio says, I've never heard of a Simon London before, but it's totally what I expect from him.
Hey, Simon London.
Send that one in.
It's called Scomo.
That's funny.
Skio.
That is funny. It's totally what I expected on him, Scomo Skio as well. Go on, Samara.
Sandy has said, I love Simon. He's desperate to defend the indefensible, but he doesn't always have all the information. He seems like a good-humoured and all-right guy, but he needs some Trumpanol and research.
He certainly does. I mean, you know, I think you were being deliberately controversial. If the president of the United States was a camel, we'd still have to have them as a state visit. You know, that's the way it goes.
Just to reiterate what I said last week, I do not believe that the President of the United States shaking the hand of King Charles is a great look. I wouldn't invite him over.
And people said... In the real world, in the real world. This is our oldest ally. This is the greatest country on the face of the earth, and we should afford him the respect of a state visit to our country.
Also, a lot of experts are saying the relationship is in tatters right now, and the state visit could actually be the only thing to bring them together again.
But the crimes of which he has been made...
forget it. The crimes of which he has been convicted and the crimes of which he is awaiting sentence will all disappear because, hey-ho, he's going to pardon himself. Then they'll
One of the things that people said were, how can you say that when I bet King Charles shakes Prince Andrew's hand? I don't think that's a great look either. I don't think people who do those things should
in the real world, Simon...
It's not the real world, though. He wears a crown and sits on a gold chair. That's not real.
Britain has to play host to America. It's quite right, and I'm looking forward to him coming over. What have you got now, Samara?
David says, if you open Simple Simon's head, you'll find Donald Trump living in there rent-free.
Yeah!
It's true.
He does live in your head rent-free. I don't really like that expression. It's just overused, but...
So if that orange...
In your case,
if that orange windbag lived in my head, I'd charge him all the money that he doesn't really have.
Doesn't he? Go on.
Mark Williamson said, if I listened to the preaching of Simon London, I'd lead one hell of a sad, woke existence. He needs to go.
Well, Simon London needs to go. Yes, he does. Yes, indeed. I'll consider his future over the festive period. Samara?
David says, I can't stand the Harkles, so I don't envy Simon and his job. But I've got to say, he's so much more pleasant than JJ. And his jackass laughter, he was insufferable. Simon actually comes across rather sweet.
JJ does laugh a lot.
He does. One of the things, Kevin, you've got to sort of bear me out here. One of the things that people love to do is they like to take pictures of famous people with people who are notorious. Piers Morgan gets it all the time. You met Ghislaine Maxwell at something, and they always print a picture. They print a picture of Maggie Thatcher or King Charles with Jimmy Savile and everything else.
Yeah.
I think I'm protecting them for those future pictures. That's all I'm saying.
Look, we were talking earlier about the Emir of Qatar. Qatar, a dodgy kind of a place for human rights. Of course, the king has to play host. The prime minister has to go. This is international diplomacy, and nowhere is international diplomacy more important than in the relationship between the greatest country and the most powerful country on the face of the planet, the United States of America, and little old Britain. So you do understand, but he has to be given a state.
But you do remember when Joe Biden met Khashoggi? Everybody was not Khashoggi, MSB. Yes, the Sultan.
You mean the Sultan of Saudi Arabia?
Yes, Sultan of Saudi Arabia. Everyone was asking, is he going to shake the hand that
who killed
was allegedly ordered the assassination of Khashoggi?
Well, but
so these are the questions that people ask. And the answer that I'm saying is our king should not shake the president's hand.
The answer is Peter Mandelson said this when Labour were in power under Blair. He said, you know, when you're in government, you have to shake the hand of a lot of people you wouldn't like to shake the hand of. That's what you have to do. This is the real world. So come on over. I mean, I want Donald to come because I think he's entertaining. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great man. I really do. Next up, Samara.
Alice says, I like your show, but I turn it off when that man comes on. He's not worth my time. And Eileen says, Kevin, you're too funny. Even Simon can't help but laugh.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we do laugh at each other. What else can you do? If we didn't laugh at each other, we'd cry. Simon.
Steve Chambers says, oh, my Lord, watching Daily Samara on GB News and Iron Mike's Plank of the Week. She's proving that conservative women are all things bright and beautiful. Of all creatures, great and small, and all things wise and wonderful, the Lord God made Samara Gill.
Who is that from?
It's from S. Talker. No, Steve Chambers.
Look, the DMs are open. That's all I'll say. Carmela has said, Meghan makes me sick to my stomach. I literally want to vomit. Yeah, I share that.
Who's that from?
Camilla.
Well, Camilla, don't sit on the fence. You know, say what you think.
Is that Camilla Parker Bowles, by chance?
Yeah.
All right.
I think it probably is.
Yeah,
Camilla hates her and vice versa. So go ahead, Simon.
Angus Eats says, Kevin O'Sullivan, I love you to bits, mate, but I cannot stand that half-witted moron who appears on your show. Hence, I switch off when I see that moron's face. Sorry, Kevin. Cheers, mate. It's a bit mean about you.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say that. Time for a bad ad.
You can give it a swirl.
It's the only oatmeal in the whole wide world. You can squeeze out the fun. You can give it a swirl.
Make a strawberry smile. Make a milk chocolate swirl. Oatmeal swirlers. You can give it a swirl.
Fun to make.
Fun to eat. 6 great flavors.
Oatmeal swirlers. The swirl and fun part of this complete breakfast.
Oatmeal swirlers. You can give it a swirl.
That looks delicious, but of course it is now banned in this country by our ludicrous nanny state government. Over here in Britain, folks, Keir Starmer, that idiot at number 10 Downing Street, and his cabinet crew have banned adverts for junk food high in sugar, fat, etc., before 9 p.m. on British television and round the clock online. This will apparently reduce the amount of adverts they see per day for food by 8.9 seconds and reduce their dietary intake by 2.1 calories. So it will do nothing to cure the scourge of child obesity.
Listen, the sugar tax.
Control freakery. In fact, look, we make our decisions about what we eat, not the damn government.
No,
And,
we just all have to pay for the obesity on the national health.
Yeah, fine. If I want to eat chips all day and I want to drink beer all day and smoke 100 cigarettes a day, that's my business, nothing to do with the government. And on that bombshell, we're going to end the show. Thank you very much, I think, to Simon London. Genuine thanks to Samara Gill. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan. You've been an amazing audience. We will be back next week with another edition of What Just Happened. You better be there.